Hi there, from PA, and let's say Daniel, because I want to say a few things with a couple work examples.
Okay.
Daniel from
PA.
So, calling on two quick things, both about reputational laundering, and the first one, which I think you'll all appreciate. At the end of last week, our company had a call with all of our senior managers and up, and I wanted to share how our president ended that call. So I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, but what she said was something along the lines of, I want to leave you all with some wise words from an intelligent leader, former Secretary of State Colin Powell. Colin Powell had 13 rules for leadership, and, she went on. I'll spare the MR audience repeating the 13 rules, but I was struck, really by the irony of the timing that she was complimenting and promoting the words of Powell. So I think there's a lot one could say about it, from the way that someone who served, at the very least as an accessory to war crimes, has been able to launder their reputation, the extent to which their reputation was hardly ever questioned in the mainstream to start with, or the way that corporate leadership selects for certain characteristics of thought. But don't want to take too much time on that first one. Just wanted to share that. I thought it was a little bit darkly amusing, and really wanted to get on to my second point, if that's all right.
And wait, and did she realize that she was saying this practically on the anniversary of the 20th anniversary of the Iraq invasion?
I suspect she had no idea at all.
Yeah. You know what rule number 14 is? And it gets dropped off. It is don't listen to the CIA because you think it's going to, better to get along, go along to get along.
No, it's a good thing that we just didn't pursue any legal action against these war criminals, because history has judged them. And that's why Colin Powell's rules are being cited in your workplace.
Exactly. So the second point, this is something that I wanted to kind of share something and help debunk, starting with another work example. The issue that I want to frame for listeners is why companies claiming to be job creators is a complete fabrication. So just recently at work, I observed a manager talking about this idea that that the work their team does keeps folks employed, et cetera. And one of their employees responded that they hadn't really thought about it, but it makes work feel more rewarding to them, that they impact people getting work, which is a little painful to hear, because it's one of those ideas that's really alluring for people, and I think hard for people to reject or separate from once they embrace it. Folks don't want to think that what they're doing, might not be all sunshine and roses and rainbows and all of that, and that they might need to work towards, different social structures. But the super short reason that I just want to share for folks, I think as a way for folks, when you encounter this, in your own workplaces or conversations with friends or wherever, to be able to push back on it, the super short reason is these companies use the existing labor in a community to fill their jobs, typically at the expense of small businesses, full stop. They're not flying in, a bunch of people, and in fact, that would kind of counter that entire argument of, they wouldn't be creating jobs if they're bringing people in to fill jobs, and they're not creating jobs when they come in and siphon workers away from, existing places as well. But, for instance, a big retail chain could come to your town, say, we're going to create jobs and bring in millions of dollars in tax revenue. And what they're leaving out is, those job losses in small shops, the lost tax revenue, as those small stores lose sales. And they're also leaving out costs to, your town or city to maintain extra infrastructure for them, tax breaks, et cetera. And it doesn't have to be just retail, but, just, one example there. But to give, maybe a bit more of an expanded explanation for folks, jobs are created when a few things intersect. And one is a need, right? People want something done. Maybe it's selling food or delivering packages or manufacturing a product. And two is the availability of labor and physical resources needed to fulfill that need. Someone needs to make that product or deliver those packages or stock and prepare and sell that food. And you need the materials or the ingredients or what have you. And then when it comes specifically to, kind of the capitalist mode of production, you then need concentrated financial capital, held by a small group of decision makers to purchase that labor and those physical resources. And this can apply, the fourth one can apply, kind of whether it's capitalism or other structures, but, at least within our legal framework, you then also need for certain services or products ownership of the intellectual property to fulfill that need legally without facing an injunction or facing financial penalties from, another capitalist. And so I know that certainly you all know this, but for, maybe new listeners, outside of capitalism, just really to emphasize, we can decide democratically as a society that we want certain big ticket things to be done. Like we want everyone to get their health taken care of, or we want to produce the energy that runs our society in the way that, we know isn't going to worsen climate disasters and, create massive, forced migration, or, we want a robust way to move consumer products around quickly. So as a society, we can decide democratically, we're going to fund those things being done. The need's there, the labor's there. Using democratic principles, we can replace, kind of that concentrated oligarchical decision-making. And then when we fund those jobs, we can fund them properly.
Yeah.
Right. Not make people poor, force them to take on massive debt to do those jobs.
I think, listen, private enterprise can create jobs. It isn't necessarily, I think the fallacy, it seems to me, is that it is the most efficient way of distributing the society's resources, because a lot of times, it isn't creating anything that society really needs. It's creating, it is really just generating or creating maybe even a market that just creates profits. I mean, do we really need this many different health insurance companies? No, we don't.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
Medicare is a perfect example of why you don't need it. If it works for people over the age of 65, it's certainly going to work for people under the age of 65. We don't need it. There's room for it because, that's the end of our imagination. What if would there be a huge problem if we had, 3 models less of cars on the road? Of course not. I'm not suggesting, or even a better example, would it make a difference if we didn't have 6 or whatever it is, 4 or 6 freight train companies? No, we could have 1. It wouldn't implicate things at all. In fact, the service would probably be better, and the safety certainly would be. There are examples all over the place of things like this that we could that the government could do better because they don't have to worry about a profit margin, so they can expend whatever that cost that would be associated that gets offloaded to society. Safety, health, sometimes efficiency. They don't need to offload that cost to the public and realize it in terms of private profits. They can expend that money to do those things better. And, that was part of the argument I was having with that dude. But appreciate the call, Daniel.